Right, everybody, I'm back and I'm doing a review of Moon Knight episode 1. Hopefully, I'll be doing the rest of the season and that. But, I'm gonna be doing a review and spoilers together, sort of thing. So, I, I don't mean, so, yeah. Uh, so, the beginning bit, and it had Ethan Hawke in it with his Arthur Harrow character. I'll get back to that bit, but it starts off though, sort of like with Oscar Isaac playing Stephen, um, getting late to his job because he's working at a museum and that, and his boss, played by Lucy Thackeray, who was like Donna, so, like giving him some shit and that. Quite funny, like comedy sort of bit in that, making him sort of feel like crap because he's like being late and that, and she's getting on his case a bit, but that's the way it goes. Yeah, there's like a bit where she reminds him about being late because he's wanting to have this poster changed because it only shows 7 um, Egyptian gods, where he says there should be 9, and there's like quite a bit of a comedy routine and that sort of thing. And then he goes to see a statue dude doing like street performance where he's painted himself gold and just freeze framed himself, and he like talks to him about his problems and that, and about having a date and that because he's got a date, and then he goes home and then he wakes up in the Alps. Yeah, his jaw's broken a bit, but he sort of like snaps it into place and that, and then like there's no sound of music going on, but he sees like a house, well, a castle, more like, and dude starts shooting at him, so he like runs off and that. Like this, there's a bit of a soy bit where he's like a bit of a pussy, but when people got machine guns, you do run off and that. And his character is supposed to be really sorry because you heard like a voice beforehand going, "Oh no, the idiot's back," and that. So he and so yeah, he's playing the like soy character in that. So he runs off and that, and he runs down into like this village sort of town square bit where he sees Ethan Hawke, the Arthur Harrow character, and like he tries to like merge in with the crowd and that. Yeah, and this bit you saw just before the start of the show where Arthur Harrow, he's like smashing glass and putting in his shoe and that, and you see he's got a tattoo of some scales on his forearm and that. So yeah, back to where the town square is and that, and there's a dude who's wanting judgment and that. So Arthur Harrows, he like puts his cane in between the dude's hands and that, and starts rocking it and that, and his tattoo of his scales turns green and that, and so it's all good. And it's like, oh yeah, you're a good man and that. You saving Omid, who's like name of like justice sort of thing he's searching out for. So this old woman, she goes up for a go and that, but unfortunately the scales turn red and that, and so life gets drained out and she dies, sort of thing. Well, anyway, the guards come and tell Arthur Harrows that the two of the guards are being killed and that, and so he stops and does a chant that everyone sort of like bows down, that's kneeling and that, and Stephen, he's sort of like stood up, and so he stands out like, oh yeah, there's the foreigner or the stranger in the town, sort of thing, and he asks him for the scarab. Yeah, now there's a funny bit here, sort of thing, where Stephen wants to give Arthur the scarab because it's like a little gold, like beetle shaped. It looks like a bracelet, but I don't think it is. But and he sort of like tries to open his hand and that and give it, but his body's controlled by the Egyptian sun god, and so like his movement like just stops him from giving it, and so Arthur gets a bit sort of pissed off with this and tells his sort of like minions to fucking seize him and grab him. Well, they grab him in that, but as they like take the scarab out of his hand, he blacks out and then he wakes up to see like a few knocked out people and that, and you didn't get to see it happen, which like it would have been better in that if you'd got to see the action, because there's a few bits in this where he has these like blackouts where he turns into it'd be Mark Spencer or Spectre, and so like he's like an hard dude and that who's like a hitman or something and that, so like he would beat him up on that, so you don't see this, but then he wakes up with all this, and then they're all like going a bit crazy and that, like looking at him, so like he starts to just leg it and runs off and that and gets into this, it probably I think supposed to be an ice cream van, but filming with that ice cream's real hard because you got to keep it cold and that, and with all the lights and everything, and depending on how long it takes you to film a certain scene and that, so it's a cupcake van and so yeah, he's escaping away in this cupcake van, but he's getting chased and that by a few cars and 4x4s and that, and he has to overtake a chicken coop van and like there's a pretty good bit where like a dude on one of the cars jumps onto the back of the cupcake van and gets inside the van and that, and then a bit of a comedy moment where Steve like throws the cupcakes at him and then smashes a cupcake in his face, sort of thing, and rubs it and that, but the dude just gets a gun out and that, and then like a car pulls alongside and that, and then Stephen he has one of these blackout duels where he just goes unconscious, and then he wakes up with the gun in his hand, which he drops because he's real scared of it, because he's like a really soy pussy and that, and you see like the aftermath of like the dude with his head being shot and the car just like rolling sort of in a wreck. So then two cars sort of like pull up alongside of him and start aiming guns at him and that, which then again he starts to just black out. Yeah, when he comes around, he's like driving backwards and that, and he like throws the gun and that, and then the voice says like, "Oh, did he just throw the gun?" And so like, and he's like, "Ah, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing," and that, like proper, like acting like a pussy and that. Well, anyway, you see like the aftermath of like cars, like one going off the side of the cliff, which you can't really see all that good there, but like another one, I think smashes and that, and there's one more that's chasing him and that, and so like he manages to do an handbrake turn to get facing the right way where the car stops him, and then two dudes come out of of the car and that, pointing gun, but then like an avalanche of like logs, yeah, and it takes out like the two dudes and that, and then the logs are looking like they're gonna um, take out Stephen's cupcake van, and so he screams and wakes up at home where, yeah, so he wakes up thinking it's a dream, but then like he noticed that his goldfish that only had one fin has now got two, and so he goes to the pet shop where the pet shop owner, sort of like a worker, sort of like says that they haven't got fish with one um, fin, dorsal fin, and he asked that yesterday, and then he's like, "Oh no, I wasn't in it here yesterday," and that, and then she's like, "Oh well, everything's wrong then," sort of thing, and so he like sees the time and then thinks he's late for his date. Well, he gets to the restaurant and that, phones up his date who he was supposed to be meeting there, and she's real mad at him because it was supposed to be 2 days ago on the Friday, and it's now the Sunday, and he talks to the waiter and finds out, yeah, it's Sunday and that, and so she don't ever want to speak to him again, and so he's a bit sort of depressed and that, but gets a steak to eat, and then sort of goes home, phones someone and tells them that, oh, the date sort of was alright, but I don't know who he was talking to and that, but gets home and that, and whilst eating some chocolates that he'd bought for his date that like didn't, well, turned up, but he wasn't there. He dropped some on the floor, and he noticed some scratch marks on the floor, and like he moves at the table and that, and finds a place where there's a phone and like a key on a card thing, like don't know what the key's for, but the phone's got some well, got two numbers, but one number in particular is Layla, that's been ringing like loads. Who's called Layla Electory, played by May Calaway, sort of thing. Who's the one like who kicks ass probably in episode 2 and that, where Sawyer's fuck. But anyway, so he answers the phone and that, and it's Layla on the phone, and he he don't know it's his phone or his alter ego of Mark, and so she like wonders why he's got a funny accent and that, and he sort of like gets a bit sort of panicky sort of thing because he starts hearing voices and that. And yeah, there's a bit with the mirror where he's like got where it shows he's got two personalities going on there, where one of them's like telling him to leave it and put the phone back and stop hunting around and that. And then gets real panicky as like lights go out and that. So he like runs out of his sort of apartment and goes into the lift, or as the Americans would say, like runs into the elevator and that, and like starts like pressing the buttons to go down, but the lift elevator lift is playing up a bit, and it stops on one floor where you see sort of like the sun Egyptian sun god thing that's been calling him like a pussy soy boy idiot fucking bitch and that shit. He's like walking towards me, and you see this bit on one of the trailers and that for it, where he gets to the lift and that, and he's all like panicking and like nearly crapping his pants and that, and then it turns into an old lady who, well, I don't know, it was just him like seeing like things and that where she sees him on the floor like in a bit of a state and that, and she's thinking he's a bit of a weirdo, probably on drugs and that, and so she's acting like, oh yeah, I'll just act nice to him, and he tries to act like normal and that, and then yeah, she like gets out of the lift and that, and he's a bit confused, and then all of a sudden he's on the bus that's going to his work and that, where he like gets off and that, and as he gets off he sees the Arthur Harrow's character, and so he goes straight into work and that. He talks to like the security guard who like was watching otter videos and that. Well, he says to him, "Oh, can you stop a certain dude from coming in?" And he's like, "Oh no, I can't. It's a public building. It's a museum. Anyone can go in and that." And then Donna like comes up to him and telling him to like get some stuff and to move it and in the store and that, because he's on like warehouse duties where he's got to do all the stock and that. So he sees Arthur Harrows and that, and he tries to get him thrown out by the security guard who works there, but the security guard shows him a tattoo of the scales and that, and so he's one of the cult members of the Omid Ganger, whatever they are. Because if you see circled on the wall there with the dragon's head sort of thing, that is the Omid god that like Ethan Hawke, like Arthur Harrow's character, tells Oscar Isaac Stephen's character about it, and that sort of tells him that she was a empress god or Egyptian god who like could see the future or whatever, and then could pass judgment on people. Well, he starts to do this sort of like ritual of the cane in the wrist and swinging it, and the scales start like shaking and that, and the won't go red or green and that, and so like Arthur Harrows, he's like, oh, you got chaos in you and that, and then so Stevens carry he I've got to go and I'm going, and so like he runs off, and then um, Arthur's character is like, oh, leave him to like the sort of like minions that have like gone into the museum and that. So he runs off and that, and does the rest of his sort of shifting that, and like at the end of the day though, and it's must be long shifts and all because he's been late a few times, so he's having to do overtime and that, and like yeah, as he's like walking out and that, he hears some like some noises and that, and so he goes to investigate sort of thing. Yeah, so as he's investigating and that, you see like his reflections doing different um, pose and that to show like, oh yeah, he's different personalities and that, and they're looking out and that sort of thing, and he hears like the Arthur Arrows character say, oh yeah, Stephen of the gift shop, um, give give us the scarab and that, or we're gonna set like a wild beast on you, and that, or you'll be torn apart and that. They don't say about the wild beast, but you see like this wild beast. Well, here's where it gets real good. The last 2 minutes, it's like, yeah, this is where it's masculine action. Where yeah, this is like the payoff and that. So you see like this wolf sort of creature thing chasing him after him and that, and it's like flying off the walls and that, and it's all of a good picture, a bit blurry sort of thing because it's one of them bad sort of pause moment sort of thing. But like yeah, it chases him though into like a room where there's like mirrors on the side and that, and like got sinks but no toilets. So I don't know where the toilets are in this room, but it's smashing through the door anyway, and the reflection of the mirror starts talking to him and that, and says, look, because it's supposed to be the Mark character saying, look, let me take over. If you don't, we're gonna die and that, and he's like shitting it and that, and he realizes in the end that like yeah, he better just like pass out and get and that, and yeah, now this bit is good because yeah, he passes out and that, and the door gets smashed in, and the like werewolf thing like attacks him, but then you see like all this sort of like debris flying out of the room and that, and like it pans round and that, and you see like about 30 seconds sort of really sort of like small fraction of what like what all would love it to be like, what I want it to be. Hopefully they will think, oh yeah, we'll better start making more of these Moon Knight scenes of him kicking ass. But then, yeah, you see Moon Knight just beating the shit out of this fucking werewolf thing and that. It drags him in and that, gives him a few kicks to the head and that, to the ribs, that's puncturing him in the head and that. And like, sort of like stops and that. So, and then like it pans in. Yeah, so I see Moon Knight sort of like, I think it probably mostly like CGI'd and all that sort of thing. So it's looks a bit sort of crazy-ish sort of thing. Like yeah, comes towards the camera and sort of finishes. And it doesn't do Moon Knight, Moon Knight, but I don't know why. But anyway, yeah, you just go up. So yeah, that's like the first episode. I thought was pretty good, and that like it'd been great. I'd have been Moon Knighting it all over if they'd have shown you the bits where he passes out and that and blacks out and just sort of like comes around and you see the aftermath of what the action has been. But if you've got a good imagination and that, you can pretty much imagine like what had happened. But hopefully they might like do more scenes with Moon Knight kicking ass, and you can see him kicking ass where or Mark. Well, I don't know if you'll see much of Mark because that means Oscar Isaac has to do some ass because I don't know if it might be season 2 or 3 if they're like, oh yeah, we need you to start kicking more ass as Mark. But yeah, pretty good I thought, and that. And thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.